to the. Hey, you burn me up, believer, believer.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Richard Speight.
Oh boy, it's me. Oh my God. Thank you, boys.
We're really giving them their money's worth, Rich.
What'd you say?
We're really giving them their money's worth.
I mean, those intros are going up to next level. We needed to do a good intro song because the audience hasn't gotten to see me.
They really haven't.
You don't get enough Rich during these panels, so we thought, why not bring me out to answer questions? Let me tell you something. I'm like the chairs and the stage. I just arrive on Thursday night, and I'm here.
Can that be your first question?
Say it again.
Can that be your first question?
Sorry. Yes, you, sir?
Where did you get that shirt?
Where did... This shirt. I got this shirt. Thank you for asking, kind sir. This shirt is, the brand is M. Crow,
okay,
which is from Lostine, Oregon, which is very near my wife's hometown, Oregon. Very near my wife's hometown.
Do you have a question?
And my cousin-in-law started a line of clothes based on the general store there.
I've got a question.
Yes, hold on. Let me turn to this side. Yes, you, sir.
Serious question. Were you nervous directing your first episode of Supernatural?
Ooh. Look at mine.
That's a good one, right?
Who knew that robots could give a crap? I was petrified. I was petrified directing my first. In fact, I actually think you guys know, because we probably talked about it for the weeks leading up to directing Supernatural, how blind scared I was.
Well, you didn't do a whole lot of talking.
Oh, dude.
Hey, Rich.
I was about to poop myself for 2 weeks.
I've got a question, Rich.
Okay, hold on. Let me get that. And you, sir, in the back.
What pranks did Jared and Jensen play on you while you were directing?
Now, there's a question I've been waiting for. Steve, you're a jerk. You know damn well that there are trained professionals who would never play pranks on anybody, unless, of course, God forbid, they're anywhere near your phone, in which case they are evil. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, William and Michael. 3/4 of Loudon Swain. Hi, everybody. How we doing? This is a time for us to really get to know each other, to talk about the things that you've wanted to talk about all weekend long, but we're afraid to ask because Rob was here. But now without Dad, we can talk for real. No, Rob had to go off and do TV, so we're very excited for him, so I'm here. I'm carrying the load for the day. You, what's going on? Walk me through it.
Sorry. Your favorite place to spend time when you're not working?
Favorite place to spend time when I'm not working? Well, truly, we were just talking about it. My wife is from a small town in Oregon called Joseph, and it's teeny, and it's in the middle of nowhere. You drive 4 hours from Boise or 2 hours from Lewiston, or you can't get there easily, and it's one of the prettiest places I've ever seen. It's snow-capped mountains surrounding a glacial lake, and it's been noticed by lovers of the outdoors. People go there. And it's on the cover of Sunset Magazine, and people know it as a fancy, not fancy, a very beautiful place. but it never gets ruined by tourism because you cannot go through the town. You can only go to it. The highway goes up to Joseph, Oregon, to Wallowa Lake, goes around the lake, and then ceases to exist. So you literally can't go through the town. You can only go to it, which makes it awesome. Very hard to get to, very remote, but really, really beautiful. And we go there as much as humanly possible. I'll be up there for the entire Christmas break. I'll go back there in the summer. I have 3 boys. I don't talk a lot about my family publicly, but I have 3 boys. And I'm a very boring man who enjoys doing only things that involve my 3 boys. I enjoy spending time with my family a tremendous amount. And those boys are being raised in Los Angeles, California. Now, there are some people here who are probably from Los Angeles, California, who enjoy that. But I have always had a hard time feeling at home in Los Angeles, California, because in my heart of hearts, I'm a southern boy from Nashville, Tennessee, and California and I are not very similar. We've carved out a lovely neighborhood for ourselves and a lovely life, and we have our friends, and we enjoy what we do. But I love getting the boys out of Los Angeles and putting them in the woods and giving them a pocket knife and saying, I'll see you at sundown. And you can't do that in LA, but you can do it in Joseph, Oregon. You can open the door and say, go, have fun, try not to kill yourself, definitely don't kill your brothers, and we'll see you at the end of the day. I call it the deturtification of the children, where I can take them out of the city and into the country and let them be the boys that I think genetically they were meant to be. And it's an awesome gift that I have with the fact that I married into a family that is from that town. So that's where I like to spend my time.
Thank you. Have a good holiday.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thank
Hi.
Deturtification. Big applause. You right there.
Hey. So I know you and Rob have said before about you might have potentially found a home for Kings of Con Season 2. Is there anything else you can tell us about Kings of Con Season 2?
Not really, because we're not there yet. We're as close as we've ever been to having a new home for it. However, like all things, I don't believe anything's done until it's done. And the last thing I want to do is jinx it by announcing something that ends up being not true. It's been a weird journey with Kings of Con because I'm as proud of that show as anything I've ever done. I love that show. I'm really proud of the stories, of the writing, of what Rob and I created in our mind, what we created on screen. A great experience with our friends, great experience with a new group of professionals that we didn't know before in terms of the crew. And I think the product is hilarious and really good and unique. I never realized how hard it would be to find a new home when that one platform stopped doing original content. I'm baffled that 2 years later I'm still talking about hopefully finding a home for it. It's really bizarre to me. But it just goes to show you how difficult the industry is. How rare a show on the air 14 years is. I mean, how hard it is to get something going, even if it's good. So we are still working, and we are very close to something. We were actually hoping to be able to announce it this weekend, but we just lawyers are still talking, so it didn't come to pass. And because of that, I want to honor the fact that it's not there yet and not do anything preemptively. But we are we're more hopeful than we've ever been. A lot of times we get up here and say we're hopeful and we're lying, but now we're hopeful and I'm not lying. We're very hopeful, and fingers crossed we'll have something to announce in the beginning of the year. Thank you. It was fun. I was in Australia last weekend doing a convention, or 2 weekends ago. I don't know. I forget where I was, but I know I was in Australia. I don't remember when I was there, but it was very recently. And Jeff Parise, who plays Asmodeus, was with us. And Matt Cohen and Jeff and I were sitting in the green room, and somebody started talking about Kings of Con, and he'd never heard of it. So Matt's like, let's put it up. We were in a university for the convention. So in the green room, there was the audio-visual room, the projection system for a computer was in there. So Matt plugged in the computer and we watched Kings of Con. And it was fun to watch. We watched all 10 episodes, and it was super fun to watch it on the big screen and to watch a new person, Jeff, watch it and see him laugh at the jokes for the first time and also relate to the convention experience. And it reminded me how much I liked the show, to go back and watch it again. So it was fun to refresh my memory about how proud I am of that work. Yo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
Doing well.
Excellent.
I was wondering if by some miracle Gabriel does come back, where would you like to see that character go?
I tell you what I don't want him to do. Fight his brothers. He keeps getting killed. You know, you get asked that question years, over the years, and before my character had come back, I would make up some lie about him being a pastry chef. But now, after having done the character again last season, I actually really enjoyed bringing him up to speed in terms of the storyline and everything. And I thought it was going to be interesting. They floated this out there to have Gabriel run heaven. I think that would have been cool.
Yes.
So, because there was at one point Castiel asked Gabriel about doing that, but in the episode in which I got killed by Michael. But I was like, that would be to try to watch that character evolve from somebody who skirted responsibility his whole life into being somebody who has some responsibilities, and those responsibilities have a great effect on heaven and earth. I think it would be fun to watch him wrestle with that and balance who Gabriel is versus what he needs to do. So I think that would have been a fun journey to see Gabriel go on. I don't think we will, but nonetheless. What about you? Do you ever think about it? What would you like to see him do?
Exactly that.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was cool for like the episode or two to have Gabriel injected into the group, to go through the rift, to be working with Jared Jensen, or Sam and Dean and Castiel for something greater than himself. I thought that was cool. And I think, I think there's a lot of what Supernatural does very well, what the show does very well, is create deep characters that are multi-layered. And then they kill them, which is okay. And people go, they should never have killed that character. Anytime you're watching a show and you get mad at them for killing a character, that's called good TV. Because what they've done is they've created a character, brought you in, made you connect to that character, and then taken that character away in a dramatic fashion. So if you didn't give a crap about any of the characters that came and went, the show would never have lasted. They've done a great job of creating characters that we relate to and we connect with, and they take them away. And they take them away for good so that you don't go, oh, they'll be back next week. No, they take them away. And as painful as that may be as a viewer, it's what keeps us watching. And I think they do a good job with that. So, it pains me to be part of the collateral damage of great television, but so be it. It's better than being collateral damage on shitty television. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Happy holiday.
Right back at you. You.
Hey, so as a big Gabriel fan, I was pretty annoyed when he got killed off again in season 13. So I was wondering, what was your reaction when you found out that you got brought back just to be killed off again?
I knew when I got brought back this time I'd be killed off. So I knew when they brought me back that I'd be dying in episode 22 or whatever it was, the second to last episode of the season. I was aware of that storyline. It is very hard for me to complain about season 13 because as far as I was concerned, my character never would have been on television again. So to have the character brought back in a cool way with an interesting backstory, and then to have the character's origin story told, and then to have the character's origin story smashed up against one of the originators of the origin story, Loki, was cool. To get to play that character and the other character was cool. And to get to direct the episode in which both those characters met each other was cool. And then to direct those characters fighting each other was cool. It was kind of a banner year for me professionally in terms of challenges. So I really have nothing negative to say about the experience. I know that it was, for some people it seemed short-lived, but in one season of television, I did one more episode than I'd done in the previous 12 years. So not too bad. I'd done 5 episodes in 12 seasons, and then I did 6 episodes in season 13. So hell, that's a pretty good run if you ask me. And I think if the Richard Speight answer for the one thing I would have changed, I would like the battle of Gabriel and Michael to have been more substantial. It was 2 angels fighting. It would have been cool to have had the time and money to do something interesting with that, even if I died at the end of it. But we just didn't. That episode was a big budget, and they just didn't have the time or budget to make it a bigger thing other than a handheld knife fight. So it was what it was. But barring that, and that's a technical thing. That's not the show. That's just we don't have the time. We don't have the money for this episode, this moment. Everything else was, really kind of a gift. So I feel very fortunate that I got to be a part of it again. Thank you. You, right there.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
You excited about the holidays?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Probably work.
Where do you work?
I work in retail.
Oh, man, this is your time to shine.
Yeah.
What do you do and what kind of retail?
I work in 2 different clothing stores. I work in like a female lingerie store that's an offshoot of American Eagle, and then I work in a plus-sized fashion store.
Plus size fashion and lingerie.
Yeah, it's like loungewear and sells bras.
That's loungewear. What is lounge, like robes?
Yeah, and like leggings.
Right?
And leggings.
Luggage?
Leggings.
Oh,
you know.
leggings. Sorry. I was like, well, robe, a suitcase. That's how I lounge around. Honey, where's my duffel? I want to take 5. Well, that's cool. Yeah, you're going to be busy.
Yeah.
People are jerks, huh?
Yes.
Like when you go to buy stuff, I feel like everybody should have to work customer service.
I agree. I agree.
Because if you haven't worked customer service, you don't know what it's like to work customer service. If you haven't worked customer service, you've never seen the seedy underbelly of humanity. I've had I worked in a restaurant at California Pizza Kitchen, Studio City. Hello, my name is Richard. How may I help you? I worked there for right out of college. And I loved the restaurant itself, fantastic. The staff, the other waiters, all great. I was a host. And I would have people yell at me for the darndest of things. And well, no, it's not great, but like it was my job, it was my livelihood, it was paying my bills while I was trying to pursue acting, right? So it mattered to me. I had to stay hired. I got a free meal, that was a big bonus. But I had people yell at you. They come in there and go, where's the shrimp pesto pizza? Sir, we change our menu periodically, and the chefs have decided to try some new items. I like that shrimp pesto pizza. Well, I hear you. However, unfortunately, they switched the menu around. But hey, if you let the management know, maybe they'll add it back next time because they'll know that people are caring about that pizza. I came into this restaurant for that pesto pizza, and it's not on the menu anymore. And I am not happy. Sir, would you like me to get the manager so you can talk to him and express your concern? No, I don't want to talk to a manager. I just want to know why the pesto pizza is not on the menu anymore. Sir, I'm wearing a sweater vest standing behind a host stand. Do I look like a decision maker? No. Great. Would you like to talk to a manager? No. Cool. Enjoy your meal. Fuck off. Ah. People are so mean. That conversation actually happened. That's a scene. That was a scene from 21-year-old Richard Speight getting yelled at by a customer. I had another one where a lady came in and I said, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. I consider myself American by birth, Southern by the grace of God. I love my part of the world. And I'm a sir and ma'am guy. I was raised as sir and ma'am guy. That's my culture. And this lady came in. She said, asked me some question. I said, oh, I'm not sure, ma'am. We'll let you know in a minute. Don't call me ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am. She goes, no, yep. You say ma'am, you make me feel old. It's an inappropriate thing to say to a woman. Actually, it's where I come from. It's a sign of respect. I would call a 12-year-old girl asking me a question, ma'am. It's not an age thing. It's a respect thing. I'm trying to, defer to your gender as it being in a higher place. I refer to you as ma'am. I'm from the South. That's what we do. And she goes, well, you're not in the South. You're in California. And we don't like it when you say ma'am. Well, I'm not from California. I'm from Nashville. So have a nice night, ma'am. I was never going to make management. It was never going to happen. You know what's funny? Is you came here with a question. And what would that question be?
Well, it's like a 2-part. One was, what was your favorite scene to film? And 2, could you say the line from Casa Erotica?
Say that first thing again. What was my favorite what?
Scene.
My favorite scene for Supernatural?
Yes.
That I was involved in?
Sure.
Okay. My favorite scene in Supernatural. My favorite scene in Supernatural, and even though I haven't done many episodes, I still have, I feel like I have a lot to choose from because I had a lot of cool moments to be involved in. My favorite scene in Supernatural that I was involved in, and this may go a little off the path from what you were thinking, but it's Sam talking to Sully in the garage. It was one of my favorite parts of the show I've ever been involved with. I have always had the utmost respect for Jared and Jensen as actors and as people and as team leaders. But I was nervous doing my first episode of television. I had ideas that I wanted to get on screen that I was convinced were good, but was nervous to present because it's my first time doing this thing. And one of my ideas, and if you've heard me tell this story, bear with me, but I had this idea that in that episode, which to me, people said, hey, just my imagination. That's so great. You got a funny episode. I never saw that episode as being funny. I think Sully has humor because that's how Sully and the Xana connect with children. But I found that story to be heartbreaking. The story of a little boy in a motel room is what that and that little boy in the motel room became the Sam we know, but he's still a little boy. And he is still left without a father because those moments never leave you when you're a child. So I was examining what that was like for Sam to be a grown man reflecting on those moments and having to lean on an imaginary friend or a Xana in lieu of a parent. And so I blocked all the scenes with Jared smaller than the people he was working with because Jared is really tall. And when you look down on somebody, that is not vulnerable. This is a position of power. But when you look up at somebody, innately, you are more vulnerable. That's just how it looks. That's why kids look up at you, puppies look up at you, little people, you don't. I look up to Jared, I'm vulnerable. You look up. It's the eye position, everything. You look to the heavens. You look for help. You reach up. You don't reach down for help. You reach up. And I wanted to put Jared in that position. So if you go back and watch, you'll see Jared's in the hole digging, Jensen's standing outside the hole digging. In that situation, I put Jared on a small stool, Sully on a lawnmower, kind of leaning there. And I presented this pitch to Jared because I wanted to understand why I was doing certain things. And he's like, okay, that's cool. That's great. Let's do that. So we did it. And that's how I framed that scene. And I did that scene, this shot of Jared. We did 2 takes of it, where he's working with Nate Torrance, who played Sully, who was fantastic. It's fantastic. And line up the camera on Jared. I'm doing a slow push in on him as he tells this story about having to go back into hell. And it's the fucking high water mark of that episode for me was watching Jared Padalecki act in that shot because I did not have to cut off of him. I could have just done the whole scene when that slow push in because he told everything you need to know about that story and that emotional journey and that moment. Right then, he's looking up at the one person he trusted when he was a child. And in that moment, Sam becomes vulnerable in ways that we don't often get to see him unless he's talking to Dean about something emotional. I mean, he's been there a couple times, but it was not Dean. It was not somebody we have seen before. And you see him open up to him in a way that I thought was so unique and so beautiful and required the deft skill of a master craftsman. And I thought that Jared knocked it out of the fucking park. And I get choked up talking about it because the whole thing was about kids, and I have kids, and the whole thing crushed me. And watching Jared do it crushed me. I was like, after he did one take, and we did a second take. The second take is the one I used because in the first take, he tried something that worked beautifully, and I had another idea, gave him another idea. He did the second take, and the second take was the one I used. And I just thought it was beautiful. And if you look at that profile shot with him being in the stool, looking up at Sully, and the way Nate's responding to him and listening, and it matters, that scene, and how he handled it. Those scenes mattered. Those moments mattered. And I thought it was wonderful to see that little boy for a brief moment in that scene with an imaginary friend. I thought it was a wonderfully executed performance. I was proud of how I framed it and how I helped tell the story visually. And I went home that night and knew that directing is something I wanted to do for the rest of my days. And I had a great moment with Jared after that scene. We finished that scene, that was the last scene of the day, and Jared came to me and he said, I want to talk to you for a second. I'm like, all right. He's like, I'll be honest with you, man. I read the scene today that we were going to shoot, and I kind of thought it was just another scene explaining what was going on. But your ideas resonated with me, and that scene became something really intense and special. So thank you. And I said, well, thank you for putting on a freaking clinic. And it was a nice little bonding moment of teamwork between me and Jared. And it was an awesome moment, and I won't forget it. And that is my favorite moment on Supernatural. And now you want me to say a line from the show.
The part from Casa Erotica
You're going to have to say it, kid, because I said it 7 years ago, and I don't know what it is. What is it?
about having the kielbasa you ordered. I have the kielbasa you ordered.
Nailed it. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. You, right there.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, since Jack and Gabriel are two of my favorite characters, how Gabriel would have felt about being kind of a cool uncle to Jack if he hadn't gotten killed off again.
Well, you know, hypothetical questions are always difficult for me because I always feel like it's really just a setup to be jokey, because who knows. But I'll say this. I love what Alex does with Jack. I really enjoy it. I also happen to think Alex as a human being is fantastic, and he's a great asset in addition to the show as an actor and as a guy. He's just great to have around, and he's a hoot. And I was tweeting last night negative things about him. I was tweeting out like, you know, yeah, I can't direct anymore. Alex Calvert had me removed, and you know these things. And then I texted Alex. I'm like, hey man, I just decided on social media to say that you're the reason why I can't direct on the show anymore. And he in all caps, like, why? Why, Rich? Why are you doing that, Rich? I'm like, why not? The kids love confrontation on the internet, man. This is good. It's good stuff. He's like, Jesus, Rich, you're gonna get me torn apart. He's a super funny guy, and he was heavy in the episode I directed this season that was number 6, Optimism. He was heavy in that episode. It was very much a romantic comedy kind of episode, and Alex was just threading the needle with his comic timing. He was great. And then of course he's working with Jensen, who's could be on a sitcom if he wanted to be. He's hilarious. So the two guys doing very dry, smart comedy in that episode, and it was super fun to watch them work together and super fun to work with them because I enjoy comedy. And I think it would have been fun to be Gabriel and have Jack to play with, because it would have been fun to have as Richard to act with Alex. I don't know. I always feel like there's only so much jokey stuff that he can do. I know Gabriel is a goofy character, but what I would have liked to have seen, as I was saying earlier, what I would like to have seen examined with Gabriel was what makes Gabriel Gabriel. What I found fascinating about episode 1320, Unfinished Business, was where Gabriel came from, why he'd made these decisions, what he was doing. In the fight between Gabriel and Loki, personally, I was for Loki. I thought Gabriel was a real jerk because he made a deal and he welched on it. And honor amongst thieves, whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, Gabriel had created his own problems. And the only reason why Loki was coming after him because he messed with his kids. And you don't mess with somebody's kids. You got to beef with Loki, go after Loki, but you don't go after the kids. I had to pick the sides because I was directing it. I couldn't pull for everyone to win because I had to direct the episodes. And of course, I love playing Gabriel, but I feel like Gabriel's a deeply flawed character, but that's what makes him interesting. I would like to have seen him try to battle to be a leader. So the comedy between Jack and Gabriel would have been from Gabriel not trying to goof around, but for Gabriel trying to be a leader and just absolutely stepping in shit every time. That would have been interesting to see how that dynamic would have worked. You know what I mean? Sadly, we'll never get to see it. But we get to see Jack doing a lot of interesting things, and God willing, I'll get to direct Alex again. because he's a treat, and that character is awesome and has a lot of different ways it can go in the coming years. Yes, years, because I'll be Dick Clark by the time of this show. I mean, I'll literally be 90 when still doing panels for this show. It's the show that'll never go away. Thank you for your question. You.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
So I absolutely loved the episode that you directed where you were both Gabriel and Loki.
Thank you.
And after that, is it more difficult to direct yourself or to direct Jared and Jensen?
It's more difficult to direct yourself. That's probably a comedy toss-up question, but the honest answer is it's way harder to not be able to look at the thing you're directing. It's way harder to hope that you're nailing it. When I'm watching a monitor, I get to watch everything I planned come to fruition in front of me and make adjustments accordingly. If I'm not watching a monitor because I'm in the scene, it's very challenging to know. I mean, you trust your own instincts, but every actor wants a great director. Every player wants a great coach. Doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it or what kind of veteran you are. You want those impartial eyes who watching it and steering the performance and the cameras and everything else in the right direction. So that became challenging since I was in the episode and also directing the episode. The great thing about doing that, and I've told a couple people this at various times, is that Jared and Jensen were used to that, having Jensen direct before, so they knew what it felt like to have somebody self-direct and be in there, and they were great about, Jensen, had a lot of conversations with me about what to do and not to do, have it when you're self-directing, what sinkholes not to fall into, and then Jared offered up, he's like, look, man, we had dinner before the show started shooting, Jared, Jensen, and I, and he's, look, man, when Jensen's directing himself, he's focused on everything. But I know Dean, and I know when he's locked in. And so I helped him when he did a take that wasn't totally locked in because he was worried about something else. I would help him say, hey, you're not totally locked in. Let's do that again and lock in. And Jared said, let us do that with you. We know you. We know the character. We know what you're capable of. We know what the character should be doing. Let's all self-direct the performance. And we did. And it was incredibly handy to have two people who gave a crap about me pulling this enormous task off and who are seasoned veterans, not only in TV playing those characters, but in having one of them direct the other. So they were used to that scenario. They were very, very, very helpful. So, Jared and Jensen are the easiest people to direct in the world because they are phenomenal at their jobs and know their characters better than anybody else. So whatever ideas you have with Jared and Jensen, they're just going to come in and improve it. Whereas directing yourself, you might be screwing it up and there's nobody there to tell you. It's a crapshoot. So I'm the hard one. I cause more problems. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
You.
Hello, Mr. Speight.
How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing, sir?
Good.
I just want to start by saying I'm always wowed by the level of your talent on and off screen. You worked in so many different facets of film, writing, directing. I'm in my final year getting my degree in video production, and I was wondering what advice you might have for someone, for an aspiring filmmaker, especially someone who is starting a little bit later than others traditionally would, and also working that with the home life balance. Okay, so
congratulations on your schooling and almost finishing up. B, you want to be a director, you want to be a writer. That's what you're pursuing?
I don't know exactly what I want to do in production yet, because I would do a little bit of everything right now. I do the camera work, I do compositing, effects, and of course directing, because I have to do my own projects.
Right.
But there's so much of it that I work on, it's hard for me to narrow down exactly what I want to do.
Right, okay, well, two things. Number one, when you're not doing it for money, do it for free, because that's where we all started, and we still do it. I don't go act in Matt Cohen's short films because it's a payday. I do it because I love Matt Cohen and I love working on anything that my friends are doing. So you work on stuff for free. For you, it's your friends, or it's a company that will take you on as an intern and you intern for them. I did a lot of free PA work for years. I worked in the sound department. I worked in the art department. all unpaid, which I know is tough when you're older and you have kids and a wife and everything. I get that that's a challenge. However, the only way to get experience is to go out and get experience. So you kind of have to be on sets and see how it's done and learn. Or if you're working in compositing and visual effects, then go work for a visual effects house. You go wherever you really fit, pick one path and set laser-like focus on the goal at the end of that path and forge forward. That's kind of that's what I did with acting first and then directing. You don't want to spread yourself too thin and be a jack of all trades, master of none. Even though you might say, hey, you know what? At a certain point, I want to be an editor or I want to be a director. But if you get an offer to go work in visual effects and that's the one door that opens, go through that door, because any door can open to anything else. People come at this profession from many different angles and do very well. And I think managing home life and work life, I think it's no different for a performer or a director than it is for anybody else. I'm sure all of you have jobs that keep you away from things you love more than you wanted to. I'm not in the military. I'm not on a tour for 6 months. Whenever I think I have it tough, I think about people who actually have it tough and realize, I may not see my kids for 3 weeks. There's some people who don't see their kids for 3 months or longer and come home with not just this term war stories, but actual war stories. There are people who have a real journey that's way more difficult than what I'm doing. There are people who are giving of themselves in ways that I am not, and in so doing, sacrificing things that I am not. So I try to keep that in balance. Now, kids don't get that. Kids just want their parents around. But I also have this theory that it's never a bad thing for a kid to see parents who work hard. I think it's a good example. I think it's good for kids to see that parents are so focused on providing for the family and doing good at their job that occasionally they're not there. At least I hope it's a good thing, because it's the path I've chosen. But that was my experience with my father. He was gone a lot doing what he was doing. And though I missed him, I thought he was an impressive guy for staying focused and doing great work. So if the idea is stay focused, do great work, I think that's way better. That's a better lesson for the kids to learn, even though it's harder on them and you. And in terms of creating product, I say this to you as I say to all people who say, I finished film school, I want to tell stories, how do I go about doing it? I say this: you have in your pocket something more powerful than they had at any of the film schools in any of the cities in the entire country when I was in school. So you have an HD camera with a microphone and probably editing software for 99 cents you can download in an app in your back pocket. If you want to tell stories, go tell stories. The only thing stopping any of us from being storytellers is ourselves. So I encourage you to go tell your story and share it on the web and share it with your friends and tell another story. And you'll do some great work and you'll do some garbage, because that's the process. But you'll find what you love and you'll stay in that path, and you'll come back here in a couple years and you'll tell me how it went. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, sir.
You.
Hi. So I was wondering, if you had to make a dating profile for your character, what would it say?
A dating profile?
Yeah. For Gabriel. Like, what would you say on it?
Like, I'm just making you scramble for a second there? So I guess he'd log on to Grindr and Tinder. He's going to cover all the bases. I'm so goddamn glad I'm not dating right now. The idea of a dating profile, man, I would never, ever, ever date if I had to create a dating profile for myself. That would be horrible. There's not a lot of people out there going, where are all those 5'8" dudes? Like me on paper, I think I'm an interesting guy. I think if I chatted with people, I think I, maybe could get a gal to have coffee with me. If I met him, I could be charming for a second and, maybe get a meal out of the deal, get somebody to have dinner with me. I might be able to do that. God forbid, if I ever ended up on the dating scene. But if I had to put it on print and describe myself, that would not go well. Like the Rich Speight profile on paper, that's not a winner. That's somebody who's going that's tough. I don't envy anybody who has to deal with that online and deal with dating online. That sounds like a nightmare to me. Like, what would your profile be? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I know you asked about Gabriel, but now I've left that question. Like, that, what a nightmare. What a nightmare to actually have to come up with. I just look at because I've thought about this often. I'm like, man, I would hate to be single now. You know, you only have to convince one person that you're special, and I did it 15 years ago, and I never intend to try to do it again. But holy cats, to be out there and have people, you know, living in this world, the quick assessment, look, go, nah. Maybe I'd be on the nah side so many times. Oof. That would be tough. I'm one of those people you got to meet. You got to meet Rich. You don't meet Rich, the paperwork's not going to tell the story. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to really sell the product. I don't. That would not work well for me. I would not date much. It'd be real tough. Gabriel wouldn't have to create a profile because he can conjure hot women in beds and teddy, you know, suits. So it doesn't really matter for him. He wouldn't have to do it. Although I appreciate the question. I'm going to stick with my own answer about myself, which would mean, God, help me if I ever have to do this. I will be dateless. I will be literally. It'll be a catastrophe if I had to go into the dating world. Do you guys, anybody in the dating world doing that right now, like using social media profiles for that? Is that a thing, people? You're doing this? Yeah. Well, no. Hey, here's the thing. I think it would just suck. It's just got to be. It's just a nightmare to try to do that. Oh man. Man, you really ruined my day. This is a. I'm kidding. That's a we're single high five. Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Well, thanks for your question, and you're welcome for me not answering it, but I appreciate it. All right, you really just threw me the whole social media profile thing. Oof. God, I tell you, that'd be awful. I mean, I don't know what would I say. I don't. In the New World Order, when the mothership picks up people that bring skills to the new moon colony that we're starting, I'm not sure I'm going to make the cut. Like I don't bring a lot to the table. But I'm good at this. You know, if they end up doing conventions on the moon and they need a guy, you know, I think I could cut together a hot 3 minutes to send over as a link and maybe get a shot. You ruined my week. I can't celebrate Christmas. Go ahead.
Hello. If you could have a soundtrack for your life, what would the top 5 songs be?
What would be the what? Top 5 songs?
Yes.
Top 5 songs for the soundtrack of my life. One of the songs would be Screenwriter's Blues by Soul Coughing, which is not a song that any of you know. But to me, it's the most accurate song about moving to Los Angeles to get into the entertainment business ever written. Love that song. Band is called Soul Coughing, like coughing. And the song is called Screenwriter's Blues. That would be on there. I would also have Tennessee Stud on there by Johnny Cash. And not because I'm a stud, but I'm one of those dudes that whenever I hear Tennessee mentioned in a song, I go, "Hi!" I feel a strong affinity towards my home state, so anything that had my home state in it, I put in there. I would put Mrs. Vance on it, which is a Loudon Swain song, because I love that song. And I feel like you got to have a Swain, if I'm telling the soundtrack of my life. I mean, hell, 10 years of it have been spent standing next to Rob and listening to this band, so they would have to be a part of it. I would put Whipping Post on there, the Allman Brothers song. Because here's the thing, I'm going to tell you something, real advice from me to you. If you ever get the chance to be in the backup band for Jensen Ackles, do it. Because it's for that rare moment where you feel like, oh, we're kind of rock stars. We have a big crowd here screaming their face off. He's kind of a Beatle. I'm kind of the backup guy. This is great. I'm experiencing what it must be like for a split second to be a famous rock and roll singer. So Whipping Post has great fondness for me because of the fact that that's the first song I remember us really playing with Jensen. That was one we stuck with and went to. It's a good bass song, too, if you're a bass player. So for me, it's a win. How many is that? What did I do? Oh, that's 4. Oh, and I think the 5th one, this is really obtuse. You ask this question any given day, you'd get 5 different answers. But I think I would either do, okay, I'm going to do like an either or. I would either do They Call the Wind Mariah by the Kingston Trio from Live at the Hungry Eye, or If I Were a Rich Man from the soundtrack of Fiddler on the Roof, the Zero Mostel Fiddler on the Roof. And here's why those songs. When I was a young man, my dad would drop my two sisters off at school, and then he and I would always have a drive to the next school with me by myself. And we listened to the Kingston Trio. That's what my dad liked to listen to. He listened to AM radio, bluegrass music, the Kingston Trio. So I have great fondness for the Kingston Trio. And when I had my own children, I had forgotten about the Kingston Trio. I went and bought everything Kingston Trio I could find because it reminded me of the relationship I had with my dad. And so I would play Kingston Trio for the boys, and I would literally play guitar. I would sing They Call the Wind Mariah to Steve to, sing him to sleep. All of the boys, a lullaby we'd sing to him, which lyrically doesn't sound, just go with me here, but it's a Kingston Trio song called Scotch and Soda. I know it doesn't sound like a lullaby, but it's a beautiful song. And I sang that to all three of the boys because my father-in-law loved that song, and it was Kingston Trio, and my dad had loved Kingston Trio, so it was the perfect thing to sing for the kids. So They Call the Wind Mariah, I used to play for the boys all the time. And Fiddler on the Roof, If I Were a Rich Man, God bless my father, I would make him play that in a loop when he drove me to the bus stop to go to camp one summer. I was infatuated with that song. So we listened to that song in a loop. So I just made your 5 list 6, but there you go. There's the nice 6 songs. Thank you. You.
Mr. Speight, I was wondering if you'd like to extend this panel by like an hour?
No. You know what, sir? You're fired. I've never seen you proud of yourself. You sing with Jensen one time. I can't wait to see you next year with with Loudon Swain, including drummer to be named, TBD. All right, go ahead.
If you had to get one of your lines tattooed on your body, which would it be and why?
If I had to get one line of dialogue tattooed on my body?
Yeah, one of your lines.
I don't want to. Why would somebody make me tattoo a line of dialogue on my body? That's a cruel person who would put a gun to your head and say, tattoo a line of dialogue on your body. I don't want tattoos on my body. What's going on with you? Well, since I didn't want anything tattooed on my body, I'd probably find a line in there where Gabriel said, and do that. That way it'd be small and I could hide it. If there was a Gabriel line you want to tattoo on your body, what would it be?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, not so easy, is it? I'm going to go with and. All right, you.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, out of all your more iconic performances like Mr. Spot, Changing Channels, or even Casa Erotica, which one was your most favorite to perform?
Which is my favorite episode to act in?
No, out of your more iconic performances, like Mr. Spot, Changing Channels, or Casa Erotica, which was
Changing
more
Channels.
fun?
Changing Channels, Casa Erotica is not necessarily an episode, it's just a scene, but Changing Channels had some great moments because it had the moments when we got to know that Gabriel was Gabriel, that he wasn't just a trickster and a one-off character, that he was a character of deeper import that was going to have a bigger impact on the boys. So I would go with the work in Changing Channels. Thank you. And one last question. You, young lady.
Hello.
Hi.
What's the worst prank Jensen or Jared has played on you?
This is not the last question. They've never pranked me. I know it breaks everybody's heart. They don't, I swear to you, it's a workplace. We just do our job. Criminy. I know. See, Stephen asked that question at the beginning. I wish that they would light me on fire or something so I'd have an answer, but they haven't. They are too. Someday, God willing, they'll hit me with a pie, but it hasn't happened yet. I apologize, but maybe someday. Dare to dream. All right. So you're the last question. You. Do you have anything, or are you just working? Oh yeah. Good. There you go.
Can you tell me about the experience that you had with the Hillywood projects?
Oh yeah, Hillywood girls. I'll tell you that, and we'll wrap it up. Hillywood girls are incredibly talented young ladies who are filmmakers. They tell they do these tributes to other shows, and they just do an amazing job. So we had all gotten involved in the one they did in Vegas for Shake It Off, and so when they came to me and wanted to do Stranger Things, I'm like, absolutely, you're incredibly talented, you're great at what you do, plus I'd like to see how you do it. I think that'd be cool. So I went down to Vegas, which is where they had their studio. And then we went to Georgia and shot on a lot of the streets that the Stranger Things was actually shot on. And their attention to detail is stunning. And they do it with a crew of about 6. You know, the quality of that product is absolutely amazing. And when you see them, you see how they do it, and you know how much time and effort it takes to create that level of detail. It was truly amazing. Hannah's a focused director, a great performer. Hilly is a great performer and a great writer, and they craft these ideas together, and they just do a really impressive job. So watching them do what they do was great. I was glad to be a part of it, and I think they're really talented. You know, at first you think, oh, they're doing spoofs, but then you watch it, like they're great actors, they're great performers, they're great storytellers, they're really craftsmen. I mean, you got Hilly editing the thing, and they're doing their own visual effects, and they do the whole thing. They're not farming it out to people. They are actually using their skill and drive to do all the dirty work, all the nuts and bolts, and make those videos. They're very talented people. I loved working with them, and I hope to do it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been awesome, everybody. Thank you for indulging me with some questions. I haven't done a solo panel in about 8 years, so this was a treat. Thank you, Jacksonville. This part of the day, when you see Billy Moran come out with that guitar and the boys stand behind me, you know that it's the end of the weekend and it's time for us to sing the song that we sing every week. It's the end to go back to where I am. It's the time to go back to where I am. It's the end of the go back we know it. So go home after your autographs and your photographs. You're gonna have to go. It's the end of the go back we know it. It's the end of the gone as we know it. It's the end of the gone as we know it. So go home. That was a great 2018, Jacksonville. Thank you for helping us send it out in style. That's Billy Moran, that's Stephen Norton, and that right there is Michael Borja. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been an honor and a pleasure, everybody. We'll see you next year.